Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about what the difference is between your higher self and your soul. My name is Tami Reagor, and I am a higher self alchemist. I help you remember who you truly are and what your true potential is via connecting to your higher self to better understand your purpose and plan, but also releasing the trauma that you've experienced in past lifetimes that is preventing you from being your truest, best self. What is the difference between your higher self and your soul? This is a very common question that I get from clients and that I've seen around the interwebs. Your higher self and soul are actually the same thing. It is not two different things, but there is a slight difference for you to understand what the purpose is between your higher self and your soul. Your higher self is that all-encompassing piece of you that contains everything that you have ever lived in every lifetime since Source created you to be. And I want you to think of the higher self as a book. You know, a book you get at the library or off Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever it is, like a book, okay? Your higher self has been writing a book since its conception when Source created it. And each lifetime it lives is a chapter. Okay, so if you've lived 10,000 lives, you have 10,000 chapters. Some are long, some are short, some are intricate, and some aren't. But I want you to think of the higher self as a book and each lifetime as a chapter. Well, when you are created in conception, a piece of your higher self is downloaded into your physical body. And this contains information, the foundation of the chapter that is to be written in this lifetime that your higher self wanted you to experience or wanted to experience. Okay. This includes all of your mission and purpose, your gifts, your knowledge, all of it. In this lifetime is writing that chapter, okay? But just like in a book, none of the chapters exist on their own. When have you ever read a book where chapters didn't weave together? Well, your higher self knows how all those chapters weave together. And part of the soul's mission and purpose in this lifetime is to remember not only what was contained in that foundational piece that was downloaded into you when your soul came into your body. It includes all the pieces that then link you to the other chapters in the book, whether in the future or in the past, so that you can see a bigger idea of who you really are from a higher self's perspective, outside of the limited perspective that your soul has in this one chapter. Okay? Before you were even conceived, okay, your higher self was working on a map for you to bring in when conception happened, okay? And think of this as like a parent who's preparing their child to go to school, okay? You get all the supplies, the pen, the paper, the rulers, the markers, the crayons, all the things, the binders, okay? And I want you to think of that as like all the things that your higher self prepared for you or your soul before conception. This includes the agenda, your outline for your courses, what courses you're going to take, what steps you're going to take. It was all included, and it's written in what I call a map. Okay, so then all of a sudden, wham, boom, bang, you are conceived. Woo! And when you're born, that soul's map and all the things that your higher self put in your backpack or your school bag before you were conceived, and then it was integrated into your body, mind, and soul in womb, is then born. And this is like the soul for the first time going off to school, like a child, a parent putting a child on a bus or walking them to school, okay? And that is that part. And then when birth happens, your soul is in school. And all of the supplies that your higher self gave to you in all that preparation that it did in preparation for this chapter in this lifetime is woven into the script. All of the experiences, classes, things you were supposed to heal, things you're supposed to remember are all included in this map in the backpack of supplies that your higher self gave you from before conception. Which means you have everything in your soul within you to remember who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. Now, it doesn't mean you can't ask for help, because I ask for help. Obviously, my clients ask for help, but know that that information is inside of you and it's guiding you, whether you know it or not. You experience things as a child or even a teen that may have been planned as part of this foundational thing for you to remember something about yourself, or have an experience that then connects you to a different chapter in another civilization to help you remember, maybe not in that moment, but when you would work on yourself with your higher self can say, this happened because of this in the past lifetime. And that's how the chapters start to weave together. Now, your soul is born into this lifetime with this backpack and supplies, but for the first couple of years, it really can't fend for itself. And a lot of us find ourselves in situations where we can't even unpack the backpack or look at it because we chose to be born into a family that would never accept some of the things that were in that backpack, say psychic senses, knowings about the past or God or whatever. I was raised Roman Catholic, and this is definitely not something I could have unpacked then. So we carry it as a soul for many years. Some of us don't even get a chance to unpack it until we're well into adulthood. Thankfully, there are parents now that are more willing to go there with their children. So kids are getting to unpack those bags much sooner than many of us, especially at my age, where it was much later in life when I was finally able to unpack that suitcase or backpack. Okay. So just really quick, go back. So when you're born, that higher self that soul is within you, and it's the seat of the soul is in the heart. Okay. This is where it resides, in your heart space. And there is an umbilical cord or a link or a line or cord, whichever way, that connects your heart to your higher self. You are always tethered. You are never separate from each other. You may not be aware that there's a tether and an umbilical cord, but know that it's always been there. Your higher self has never left you throughout the whole cycle. Now, there's definitely been times your higher self is, I don't want to say up there, but we'll go there. Waiting for you to unpack the backpack so you can see all the colors and brightness and abundance and possibility and potential that this life actually holds. So when you finally do get to unpack this, there can be a little bit of a struggle or tension, because the higher self is a little bit, I don't want to say impatient, but they want to get moving, right? But from the soul's perspective, there can be anger or resentment or abandonment or fear or regret or loneliness or judgment or shame or unworthiness, all a powerlessness that can come up when the soul rediscovers the fact that there's this larger version of itself that knows so much more than the soul can get in this little teeny chapter. From the time you're born until the time you unpack this backpack, you are living in that one chapter from your soul's perspective, even though you might be manifesting, creating things that tie back to previous lifetimes, or maybe you're having visions of ancient civilizations. there's really no tie for your soul to really understand what that is, or even you consciously. And it isn't until you reconnect to the higher self that things start to make sense. Okay. For me, like as an example, in high school, I hated history. Hated it. I just wanted to memorize the damn thing and get the test done and be over it. And I never understood why. And now that I work with all these past lives and understanding how things connect and weave together in all these different chapters and lifetimes that we've all lived, I know that what's in the history books isn't necessarily true, or it doesn't even matter, because all of history in the books is one snapshot in time. But that one snapshot in time is weaved to all these other lifetimes and all these other civilizations, past, present, and future. And there's a crafting of that event that is much bigger than what's expressed in a history book. But this is an example of something that you may have experienced as a child and were either made fun of for, or you had different knowledge than someone else did, and you didn't know why. And it's because it was in that school backpack that you came with, that your soul got from your higher self, but you don't know what it ties to. So you have no place to be able to place it or even know what to do with it. So it isn't until you start to remember the higher self that things start to make sense, and you'll start to look at the stuff that you've experienced in your childhood, teenhood, adulthood, and you'll start to be able to make sense of them by the things that your higher self is showing you, whether it's things that you're supposed to be doing, or what your mission and purpose is, or maybe how it ties back to a past life. So in essence, your higher self and your soul are the same thing, okay? Once this acknowledgement happens and you've gotten the soul and the higher self to make peace with each other, because there definitely sometimes can be a lot of drama there. I didn't see it myself, but I've seen it with other clients, to get the higher self to forgive the soul and the soul to accept the higher self. Once you've done that, they'll start to work together, and the soul will start to see that there's some fun and play that you can do in this, and try to see how the chapters all tie together, and the soul starts to remember, and the soul starts to play with the idea of the larger self. And the goal of this is to integrate your soul's experience in this chapter back into the book, which is wholeness, your whole experience as your higher self. So that is in essence what the difference is between a higher self and a soul. I hope that the analogies that I gave you between books and chapters and school and preparing kids for school helps you better understand what the role of each, the higher self and soul, are, and knowing that they're not separate, even though you do experience a time in this lifetime where the soul appears separate from the higher self, but it never is not. It is always connected. Your higher self has always been watching you. It has always been guiding you. Even if you weren't aware of it, it has always been there. But until you become conscious of it is when the fun really gets to begin, where you really get to interact with your higher self, and your soul can start to grow and learn and expand into the true potential of what the higher self brings in the book that it's written all through time. Okay. So, question. Do you, one, feel like your soul and higher self are like at wit's end and they don't seem to jive? And what is it that you have felt, and or what is something from your childhood that you felt deeply called to but didn't understand what it was for? And have you been able to rediscover or tie together why that was so important when you're a child now? And do you want to know if you don't? Okay, so drop that in the comments, see how you feel about that. I would love to see your answers. This is my playground. I love doing this. This is like a little Sherlock Holmes stuff, and it just beams me up. Okay, So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like the button below. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe to the channel. There'll be more of this content coming, as well as other topics around higher self and understanding not just what it is, but how to work with it and how to become your best self, let's say. Okay. And one last thing, if you want some information, I have a free library on my website of meditations and guided healing meditations for you to get more familiar with higher self and start to clear some of the things that prevent you from being able to really connect deeply with your higher self to understand the larger picture. Okay. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you got something out of this, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.